What's going on, guys? It's Kurth with Kurth Bank Catfishing. So, in case you are unaware, so you're not following me on any of the other social media, I just got back from Washington. No, not Washington, D.C., Washington State. Now, first thing I need to let you guys know, if you're ever given the opportunity to actually head up there, if you're an outdoors enthusiast, I strongly recommend that you do so. I've been in a lot of places all over this country. Hands down so far, Washington, especially Northwest Washington, like right towards the Canadian border, is my favorite. It is beautiful up there. The natural beauty of that state is just something that I have not seen almost anywhere else. So I could ramble on and on about the beauty, but I got to tell you guys about the trip. So I was there for a work trip, my actual 9 to 5. I do have a job. I don't do this full time, believe it or not. But I was there working, and the last day that I was in there, I was sent to a little town called Ferndale. Now, Ferndale, I went, I did my job, and I had some time left to kill. And because I had a 2-hour drive back to Seattle to get to that airport, because I didn't know that there was an airport near Ferndale. And I looked around because there's so much beauty. There's national parks. There's everything up there. I was like, what's the closest one? Well, it turns out that there was a little lake actually relatively close to where I was working, about a 15-minute drive. So I loaded up in my rental and I drove to this lake. I'm going to include some pictures all right here the entire time this is going. So, guys, first things first, if you do find yourself in Washington, be aware, it's kind of just like any other national park type deal. You do have to pay for a pass, and you have to put that pass in the front of your dash. I'll tell you a little story about that here in a second. But as soon as I pulled up to the lake, first things first, I stop, I look around. There's a dude out on a boat fishing, and it's not like a huge lake, but it is gorgeous. And there's this big snow-capped mountain in the background. And off to the far left, I can see what looks to be a fishing pier. And there's people on it, but, I'm going to still try to make my way over there. But I see these signs right here that say parking pass or parking permit or something required. I scan the QR code and I go ahead and I pay for the permit, but then I realize I don't have a way to print it. So while I have the permit, I don't have it hanging in my truck. So, I'm kind of scared I might get a ticket or something. And from what I understand, I believe my buddy Jake, who I met down there, says it's like $100 fine. And your boy was not trying to pay that. So anyway, this time, my day in Washington, the weather was perfect. When I first landed in Seattle, it was raining. And then the next day I can't remember the name of the town I was in, but it wasn't Ferndale. It seemed like it rained off and on like 6 different times in different locations. So it's a very rainy state, and weather seems to fluctuate quite a lot. But don't let that keep you from going and experiencing this beauty. I'm serious, y'all. Like, you've got to go up there and check this out. It's amazing up there. All right, so I've paid for my QR code, but I don't have a way to do it. So I said, forget it. I'm here for a little bit. I've got a long drive back to Seattle. I'm just going to, walk down onto this fishing pier, and I'm just going to take some pictures and I'll leave. That was all I planned to do. I was just going to go take pictures and I was going to leave. Well, as I'm walking down there, I see there's just quite a few people on this dock. And they all have poles out in the water, and they look somewhere between like a medium to a light action fishing rod. And so looking at that, I can pretty much assume that they're either fishing for trout or possibly like a small channel cat. And I looked at their, I don't know what you call it, but it's the things they put at boat launches where it tells you what species you can find in this body of water. I'll put the picture of it right here or the video. And so I did see that there were bullhead and channel cat in here, so obviously this immediately attracted my attention. So I ended up starting to talk with these guys, and I told them that, I have a YouTube channel, I do the TikTok thing and all this other stuff, which one of the people said that they actually recognized me, which was insanely flattering. Can't thank you enough for that. And that was Miss Emily. You'll see her fishes. You'll see the fish that she caught while we were there here on the screen here shortly. But so I ran into Greg, Emily, and Jake, as well as a few other people on this dock. And I had an awesome conversation. Like, I was hanging out with these guys, but I was still worried because I did not have one of these parking permits printed. I paid for it, I just didn't have one printed. And so towards the end, I'd been there maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes at the most. I was like, well, guys, I'd love to stay and just watch you guys fish, and especially film it and put it on my YouTube channel, but I don't want to get a $100 ticket. Emily steps over from the left and she goes, hey, I actually have a spare pass if you want to use it. I was like, absolutely, say less. So Emily saved the day, and I spent my last day in Washington hanging out with all these people and just fishing and talking and having a good time. And so Greg, Jake, Emily, and the other people who I don't think I caught their name. If I did, I've forgotten it, and I'm sorry. If you're watching this, please comment your name. That way I can make sure I remember it. But these people were awesome. They made me feel right at home, and I spent my whole evening just hanging out with these people, watching them catch trout, bullhead, and yellow perch. And the trout in this lake hit insanely aggressively. I've never seen a trout hit like that, and I didn't see them pull in any small trout either. So we all sat and talked about, what they fish for up here in Washington and what I fish for back home. I talked about the big catfish that I love to chase. And Greg ended up finding my YouTube channel and subscribing. And Emily found the TikTok, and Jake found the Facebook. And, everybody just found what they needed to find to stay in touch with me. And I cannot say this enough. All of these people really made me feel at home. And that was just awesome. So I sat here, I watched them catch trout, yellow perch, and one of the biggest bullheads I have ever seen in my life. I got to know all these people really well, and I can honestly say this with the utmost sincerity. Maybe using that wrong. These were some of the best people I have ever met. I knew none of these people, but they had no issue with me just sitting there and hanging out with them. And we had some awesome conversation. Greg had some family that were actually from West Virginia. Emily's dad actually lives over towards the East Coast. And Jake works at State Farm. I'm just kidding. That's just what he told me to say. I promised you I'd put it in here, Jake. So if you're watching, there's your plug. But it was just an awesome experience there. Now, what's really cool about this lake too, and Greg, I believe, was the one who ended up telling me this, was that it used to be a cow pasture until they flooded it, and then they put trout in it. And so people come up and they try to catch these trout from the lake. Now, the only thing is there's only one fishing pier there. And I'm not entirely sure about bank access everywhere else. However, they do have a boat launch, and I did see a few boats when I was up there, but they all appear to be bass fishing. So I know for a fact that there are bass. I didn't pay attention to all of the fish species in there, but that's why I did the recording so you guys could reference it for yourself. Now, interesting enough, though, when I was up here and we were having these conversations and we talked about channel cats, they said, oh, well, the state record channel cat actually came out of this lake. And, me at first, when I'm thinking, okay, it might be maybe 12, 15 pounds. That's pretty big back home. The state record channel cat was over 30-some pounds. And I'm going to put a picture of it right here. This is a tank of a channel cat. And on top of that, it is one of the darkest channel cats I've ever seen. But you look at the size of this thing, man. This is like unheard of back here. This is in the state of West Virginia. This size channel cat is unheard of. So to know that I was fishing the pier where this came off of, it was just a really cool moment for me, because I was like, man, it'd be kind of cool if I got to see them reel, like a 15 or 20 pound channel cat in. They didn't do that, but I did see Emily reel in one of the biggest bullheads I've ever seen. And Emily said that that was only her second catfish. So, the curse of the cursed bank kind of carried with me to Washington. Bless the hole with the catfish curse. But guys, this is just a really short video on my trip up there. My only regret is that I did not have more time up there, and that I didn't buy a fishing license and a fishing pole, because I could have sat there all day with those people. And I cannot thank all of them enough for making my last day absolutely amazing, man. Like, I had such a good time. And I had never been in such a hurry to want to go back somewhere. But I do plan on getting back to Washington as soon as I can. But y'all, that's been a really short video about my trip to Washington. Make sure you enjoy these clips I'm going to put here at the end that just kind of showcase the beauty of the state. And if you haven't already, make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment. Help support your boy. Much appreciated. We'll see y'all around.
But this is Jesse, or AKA Curse with Curse Bank, and this is Trenton. And welcome to Curse Bank Catfish.
Have a good day.
All right.
Like and subscribe.
There you go. Good job, Trent.